Welcome back to our classes. We are going to now start with a topic that seems to be a little complicated, but it is not if you understand the focus very specifically. We are going to talk about simple past passive voice. Probably you heard what the passive voice is, so let's make a review and a clarification about what is the passive voice in contrast with the active voice. First, you have these two examples to understand the idea. In the first example, you say, university students make social projects every year. In this case, we have two persons or two nouns or two receiver and actor of the action. This verb that you use there is called a transitive verb. The transitive verb is needed for this sentence because it's important to remember that we need a person who does the action and the other person who receives the action. Students do the action. That's the active voice. Who receives the action? The social projects. On the other hand, you have the other example. Social projects are made by students every year. What happens? Did it change the position? Did it change to be social projects the subject and university students the object? No. Do not ever confuse with that. It is not a switch of position. It means, in this case, that students still do the action. They continue being the subject, and the social projects continue being the object. But the passive voice has these characteristics. You changed your focus of attention on the object of the sentence. So, when using active voice, the subject is the principal and focus. But when using the passive voice, the subject is not the principal and focus, but it continues to be the subject. It doesn't stop being the subject. So, let's get some analysis on this. How to use the simple past passive. We are going to remember first how to form the simple past passive. The passive voice has this characteristic. For the simple past, we use was or were plus the verb in the past participle form. That is the key of how to describe this. You see the first example. A new planet was discovered in the solar system about 4 years ago. A new planet was discovered. It means somebody, probably the scientists, probably the scientific community, probably one person with his or her telescope discovered a planet. But I don't want to mention the person. I want to mention the new planet. The new planet is the object of the sentence. And I am focusing my attention on that. For that, I am using was discovered. Was and the verb in the past participle form. The other example, electric cars were launched in the commercial market last year. You see those two cars? Those are electric cars. So electric cars were launched, were presented in the commercial market. Who presented them? Probably, Ford, Ferrari, or one independent brand like Tesla, or I don't know. But I don't want to mention that. I want to mention the electric cars. That's why I say they were launched. My old house was sold last month for $45,000. Good. Who sold my house? My father? My mother? Probably both. Probably the whole family. But I am not mentioning them. I'm just mentioning my old house because that is the focus of my attention. So remember this. When I am using the simple past passive voice, it means that the object of the sentence receives the focus of my attention. But it continues to be the focus, the object. It continues to be the object of the sentence. It doesn't come to be the subject. No, forget about it. It is still the object of the sentence. You get some examples of this. My mother prepared breakfast very early today. That's the active voice. That's what my mother did. But I don't want to talk about my mother. I want to say, breakfast was prepared very early today. Breakfast was prepared. By my mother? Sure. But I don't want to mention her, probably because it's obvious. In the other case, Shigeru Miyamoto created the Mario Bros. Game in 1985. All the people who read something about video games know that Shigeru Miyamoto was the creator of this game. But I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about the Mario Bros. Game. So you see the passive voice. The Mario Bros. Game was created in 1985. That's passive because now the object of my sentence comes to be first in focus. It is not transformed into the subject. Never. It only changes to be the first or the main focus of my attention. The object is still the object. The subject, goodbye subject. I don't mention the subject. I mention the age, I mention the year, I mention the moment, but not the subject, if I don't want. So let's remember this. This is not something that you have to confuse. It is not that the subject comes to be the object or the object the subject. Never. The subject is still the subject, but it stops being the principal part of my focus. The object comes to be the principal part of my focus, and for this I am using was or were plus the verb in the past participle form. That's what you have to remember. Now, when you go over the passive voice, you're going to find that it is more commonly used in written English, especially when you go to newspapers or magazines. For example, you say, 2 thieves were arrested yesterday. You're going to find a headline like this. It happened when they were trying to rob a bank. It means that I don't want to mention that the police officers arrested 2 thieves. No, that 2 thieves were arrested yesterday. A new electronic invention was presented in the university last month. Another big headline, probably in the news, on the media. So the students said that they worked on that project for over 4 years. Remember, it is 5 times more commonly used in written English than in spoken English. But again, remember, the object is still the object of the sentence. The receiver of the action is still the receiver of the action. Only I am trying to change the focus of importance, so in the passive voice, the importance relies on the object rather than in the subject. Thank you very much.